The text came late at night. "Sweetheart, we need to talk about the trip. We've decided to postpone it until next year." I stared at the screen, my heart sinking. Postponed? We'd been planning this trip for months, our first family vacation in years. I had rearranged shifts at the cafe, counted every dollar, skipped dinners out, and circled the date on my calendar like it was sacred. I called my mom immediately. She sighed as she picked up. "Alyssa, I know you're disappointed, but things are just tight right now. We can't afford it." I swallowed hard. I knew about money struggles. I'd been living paycheck to paycheck, working overtime just to contribute. I had even offered to pay for my own flight. Still, there was something in her voice, detached, matter of fact, like the decision had already been made, like my feelings were a mild inconvenience. "If it's about the cost," I said carefully, "maybe we can cut the trip shorter? Pick a cheaper hotel?" She paused, just for a second, but I heard it. That hesitation, the lie being shaped behind her teeth. "Alyssa," she said gently, "it's just not the right time. We'll make it happen next year, I promise." A promise. One I should have known better than to believe. 2 days later, I was scrolling through Facebook on my lunch break when my stomach twisted. There it was, a photo, my mom and dad, on a beach, their skin golden, drinks in hand, the ocean behind them glittering in the sun. I froze. I scrolled. More photos. Jake with his girlfriend, both grinning from a boat deck. My parents at a fancy seafood restaurant, laughing over lobster tails. And then I saw the caption, "Family time is priceless." Family time. Except I wasn't there. Because, according to them, the trip had been postponed. I locked my phone and stared ahead, my hands cold, my chest hollow. I wanted to believe there was an explanation, some sudden opportunity, a gifted vacation, something. But I knew the truth. They hadn't postponed the trip. They had simply left me out of it. That night, I didn't call. I didn't comment. I didn't say a word. I just watched, quiet and still, as more photos came in. Snorkeling, bonfires, laughter under string lights, a perfect week. Without me. And as I sat alone, scrolling through memory after memory I wasn't a part of, something deep inside me shifted. This wasn't just about the trip. This was about every time I'd been treated like the afterthought, every birthday they'd forgotten, every Christmas gift picked up last minute, while Jake got everything he wanted. Every time I bent over backward for them, and they couldn't be bothered to do the same. They assumed I'd stay quiet, that I'd do what I always did, smile through the hurt, swallow the betrayal, pretend it didn't cut. But this time, I was done. They didn't know I had seen the pictures. They thought their lie had worked. So when they got home a week later, I was waiting. I watched through the kitchen window as the taxi pulled into the driveway. My mom, my dad, Jake, they all looked tired, sunburned, relaxed. The image of a family coming back from a postponed vacation. The front door opened. My mom spotted me first. "Alyssa," she said brightly, her voice syrupy sweet. "Oh, sweetheart, I missed you. How have you been?" I folded my arms. "Busy." My dad set his bags down behind her. "That's good. How's work?" I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. Work. That was all I had done, while they soaked up sunshine and played happy family without me. Jake walked in, yawning and stretching. "Man, I'm exhausted. Traveling takes it out of you." He glanced at me with a smirk. "Hope you held down the fort while we were gone." I turned to him slowly, my eyes locked on his. While we were gone, as if nothing had happened. As if I hadn't spent the last 7 days staring at my phone, watching them post memories I was never meant to be part of. As if I didn't exist. I took a deep breath. No more pretending. I turned to my mother, my voice calm, eerily so. "So, how was the trip?" She blinked, hesitated. "Oh, well, we just needed a little getaway. Nothing too special." Liar. I pulled out my phone, unlocked it, and turned the screen toward them. Photos, smiling beach selfies, sunset boat rides, lobster dinners, and the one caption that made my stomach twist all over again. "Family time is priceless." I tilted my head. "Looks special to me." Silence. Heavy. Awkward. Guilt-laced. My mom let out a nervous laugh. "Alyssa, I don't..." Don't, I cut in, my voice sharper now, cold. Just don't. My dad cleared his throat. Look, sweetheart, it wasn't. Stop. My voice rose. Just tell me the truth. You never postponed anything. You just didn't want me there. My mom's expression flickered with guilt, but she masked it quickly, reaching for another excuse. It wasn't like that, honey. We just thought. What? I snapped. That I wouldn't notice? That I wouldn't see the pictures? That I'd be stupid enough to believe your lie? Jake groaned behind them, rolling his eyes. Oh my God, Alyssa. Are you seriously making this a big deal? It was just a trip. Just a trip. The words hit harder than they should have, because it wasn't just about the trip. It was everything that came before it. I shook my head. You could have just told me the truth, but instead, you lied. You made me feel like I wasn't worth bringing. You're being dramatic, Jake said flatly. I let out a bitter laugh. No, Jake, I'm finally being honest. My mom stepped forward, reaching for my hand. Alyssa, please. I pulled away. No, not this time. They needed to hear this. This isn't just about the trip, I said, voice shaking. It's about every single time I was treated like the afterthought, every birthday you forgot, every Christmas where Jake got exactly what he wanted and I got whatever was convenient, every time I bent over backward for this family and you didn't even notice. I swallowed hard. I thought if I worked hard enough, gave enough, was enough, you'd finally see me. But I never was I? Silence. Then my mom sighed. Alyssa, it's not like we love Jake more than you. I gave her a small, bitter smile. Maybe not, but it sure feels that way. More silence. That was my answer. I nodded, exhaled. Got it. Then I grabbed my purse and turned toward the door. Alyssa, where are you going? My dad called. I didn't look back. Somewhere I'm actually wanted. And I left. For the first time in my life, I put myself first. The messages started flooding in within hours. At first, they were defensive. Mom, Alyssa, we need to talk. You're overreacting. Dad, ignoring us won't fix anything. Call your mother. Jake, Jesus, Alyssa, get over it. You're acting like a child. I rolled my eyes. They weren't sorry. They just wanted me to stop making them uncomfortable. But when I stayed silent, the tone shifted. Mom, sweetheart, please. We miss you. We didn't mean to hurt you. Dad, we should have handled it better. Can we talk? Mom again. Alyssa, I feel awful. I can't sleep knowing you're upset with us. For a moment, I almost responded. Almost. But then I asked myself something. If I hadn't seen the photos, would they have ever told me the truth? The answer was clear, painfully clear. So I locked my phone, and I let the silence continue. It wasn't easy. I'd spent years being the fixer, the peacekeeper, the one who smoothed over cracks no one else wanted to acknowledge. Sitting with the silence felt unnatural at first, but as the days passed, I realized something. They didn't miss me. They missed the version of me who kept everything running, the girl who accepted scraps and called them love, the one who never made waves. Now that she was gone, they didn't know what to do. A week later, I did something I'd never done before. I booked a weekend trip, just for me. Nothing extravagant, a cozy cabin in the mountains, no agenda, no guilt. I packed a small bag, grabbed my keys, and left. No explanations, no asking permission, no waiting to be included. I just went. And for the first time in a very long time, it felt like freedom. I got back from my trip to a phone full of missed calls and unread messages, but I didn't rush to respond. I wasn't ready, because for the first time in my life, I was finally putting myself first. And I wanted to enjoy the feeling just a little longer. They weren't used to that, my silence. They weren't used to being ignored. So when their messages failed, when their guilt trips didn't work, they did the one thing I knew they eventually would. They showed up at my door. I was ready. When the knock came that Saturday afternoon, I didn't flinch. I didn't panic. I just set my coffee down and walked to the door with steady steps. There they were, my mom and dad, standing on the porch. Not smug, not angry, not demanding. They looked nervous. Alyssa, my mom said softly, clutching her purse. Can we come in? I leaned against the doorframe. Depends, I said. Are you here to actually listen, or just to tell me why I'm wrong for being upset? My dad sighed. We're here to talk, really talk. I studied their faces. They weren't pushing. They weren't talking over me. They were asking. That was new. I stepped aside. Fine, come in. They followed me into the living room. My mom sat down, hands folded tightly in her lap. My dad stayed standing, like he wasn't sure he belonged. I sat across from them, arms crossed, and I waited. It was my mom who finally broke the silence. I don't know where to start, she admitted. The truth is a good place, I said flatly. She flinched. My dad exhaled. We messed up. I blinked. I hadn't expected him to say that. My mom looked down at her hands. When we said the trip was postponed, it was a lie. No excuses, no dodging, just the truth. I swallowed hard. My throat was tight. Why? She hesitated. We thought it would be easier. Easier, just like her text. I clenched my jaw. Easier for who? Silence. For you, my mom said. For Jake, I pressed. Another silence. Then I let out a bitter laugh, because it sure as hell wasn't easier for me. My dad rubbed his face. We didn't think it would hurt you this much. You didn't think at all. My mom's voice cracked. We thought you'd understand. That word again. Understand. The word they always used when they wanted me to just accept the hurt. I leaned forward. Tell me the truth. If I hadn't seen those photos, would you have ever told me? Neither of them spoke. That silence told me everything I needed to know. I forced my voice to stay level. Do you have any idea what that felt like? To see you all smiling, making memories, pretending I didn't exist? Do you know what it's like to realize you weren't even considered? My mom's eyes welled with tears. Alyssa, we love you. I shook my head. You don't treat people you love like that. My dad's shoulders slumped. We failed you. We should have been honest. I looked at them, really looked. Why are you really here? I asked. To apologize, or to make yourselves feel better? They hesitated. Then my mom said, both. At least that was honest. We sat in silence for a while, the kind that didn't feel like healing, just truth settling between us. Finally, my mom whispered, I don't know how to fix this. I let out a slow breath, a breath that carried years of being second place, of shrinking to fit into their expectations. And I realized I didn't need them to fix it. I just needed them to understand that it couldn't be fixed with a few nice words and a hug. I don't know either, I admitted. But I do know this. I'm not going to be the one to fix it for you. My dad nodded slowly, a quiet kind of understanding in his eyes. My mom wiped at her cheeks. What do we do now? She asked. I met her gaze, steady and unflinching. That's up to you. They thought an apology would be enough, but apologies don't erase a lifetime of being an afterthought. Apologies are easy. Change? That's the hard part. After they left that day, I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel closure. I didn't feel like anything had been fixed. They had admitted the truth. They had said the words, but I'd heard those before. Their actions had always told a different story, and this time I wasn't interested in what they had to say. I wanted to see what they'd do, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid to wait and find out. I didn't go out of my way to reach out first. No good morning texts, no updates about my day, no checking in to see if they needed anything. For the first time, I made them do the work. At first, nothing happened. Days passed, then a week, then 2. And I thought, there it is. The proof. If I wasn't the one holding everything together, there was nothing holding us at all. I should have expected it. I should have known. But somehow, it still hurt. It wasn't until the 3rd week that something shifted. It was a random Tuesday when my mom called. I let it go to voicemail. Then came the text. Hey, sweetheart, just thinking about you. Hope you're doing okay. A part of me wanted to ignore it, to keep the distance. But another part, the one that had been waiting all along for even a hint that they actually cared, hesitated. I didn't respond right away. The next day, my dad texted too. Miss you, kid. Let's get dinner sometime. I stared at the message, not because I was ready to forgive them, not because I was eager to pretend nothing happened, but because, for the first time, they were trying. I agreed to dinner, not as a truce, not as closure, but to see if their words would match their actions. We met at a quiet little restaurant, just the three of us. Jake wasn't there, and that alone said something. They were paying attention. We sat down, and for the first time in, maybe ever, my parents asked about me. Not about work, not about Jake, not about whether I could do something for them, just me. I wasn't sure if it was real or rehearsed, but they were listening, and that was new. Halfway through dinner, my mom cleared her throat. "We've been thinking a lot about what you said," she said gently, "about how we've treated you." I sipped my water, waiting. She continued, "We've realized we always assumed you didn't need us the way Jake did. That because you were strong and independent, we didn't have to put in the same effort." I met her eyes. For once, she didn't look away. "And now?" I asked. Her voice wavered. "Now we know that was wrong." I turned to my dad. He nodded. "We see it now, Alyssa. We really do." For a moment, I didn't know what to say, because those were the words I had spent a lifetime aching to hear, and yet, part of me still didn't fully believe them. Not yet. When dinner ended, something had shifted. Not in a "we're healed now" kind of way, but in a "maybe this time they actually mean it" kind of way. They still had a long way to go, but for once, they were taking the first steps, and for now, that was enough. But words were still just words, and if they truly wanted to fix things, they'd have to prove it. Dinner had gone better than expected, but I wasn't naive. One meal wasn't enough to erase years of being the second thought. I wasn't looking for a miracle. I wasn't looking for another apology. I was looking for consistency. The first real test came a week later. My birthday. If history had taught me anything, it was that birthdays in our family had never been fair. Jake's birthdays were events, parties, gifts, restaurant reservations. Mine? A quick text, maybe a card, if they remembered. So I told myself not to expect anything. I braced myself for disappointment. But deep down, a small part of me still hoped. At exactly 10 a.m., there was a knock at my door. I frowned, setting down my coffee. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door, I saw my mom and dad, standing there, holding a cake. My breath caught. They had never done this before. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," my mom said, offering a tentative smile. I blinked. "You remembered." My dad gave a small chuckle. "Of course we did." And, for once, I believed him. They didn't just drop off the cake and leave. They stayed. They spent the day with me. Nothing extravagant. No big gestures. Just a quiet afternoon. Talking, catching up, laughing over a cake that was way too sweet but still perfect, because it was mine. No rushed goodbyes. No sighs of obligation. Just presence. And intention. For the first time in a long time, it felt like they actually wanted to be there. And I didn't realize how much I had needed that until it happened. A few weeks later, they proved it again. I had a big presentation at work, something I'd been quietly anxious about for weeks. I'd mentioned it once, offhandedly, during dinner. I hadn't expected anyone to remember. But on the day of the presentation, my phone buzzed. "Mom, thinking of you today. You're going to do great." "Dad, let us know how it goes, kiddo. Proud of you no matter what." I stared at the screen for a long moment. They had never done this before. Remembering the little things, showing up when I hadn't asked, trying. It was new, and it mattered. It wasn't perfect. There were still moments when old habits crept back in. My mom defaulting to excuses for Jake, my dad struggling to say more than a few clipped words. But the difference now? They caught themselves. They noticed. And they tried to do better. And that counted for something. A few months later, my mom called. Not because she needed anything, but just to talk. Somewhere in the middle of our conversation, she sighed. "I know it's going to take time," she said carefully, "for you to trust us again." I swallowed hard. "Yeah." There was a pause. Then she added, softer, but firmer. "We're not giving up, Alyssa. You're too important to us." And for the first time, I believed her. For the first time in my life, I felt like I mattered. Change didn't happen overnight. There were still days where I caught myself flinching inward, bracing for disappointment, waiting for them to forget again, waiting for it to slip away. But the weeks passed, then months, and they kept showing up. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't effortless, but it was real. One evening, I sat on my back porch, sipping tea when my phone buzzed. "Mom, thinking of you. How's your week going?" No guilt, no request, no expectation, just her, reaching out. I stared at the message, something warm blooming in my chest. That kind of text wouldn't have existed a year ago. And then, not long after, I got another surprise. I'd been quietly saving for a solo trip. Italy. My own adventure, no explanations, no input. I hadn't told my family much. I wasn't looking for opinions. But one night over dinner, my dad asked casually, "So, when's your trip?" I blinked. "You remember?" He smirked. "Of course, Italy, right?" My mom nodded. "We were actually talking about it the other day. Do you need help with anything? Packing? Planning?" I studied their faces, waiting for a catch, but there wasn't one. They weren't offering out of guilt. They weren't keeping score. They were just showing up, because they wanted to be part of my life. And that was new. The night before my flight, I got a text from Jake. I almost didn't open it. "Jake, Mom won't say it, but she's freaking out about you traveling alone. You know how she is." I rolled my eyes. Classic. But then another message came through. "Jake, you're doing it, huh? Living your life on your own terms." I hesitated. Me. "Yeah, I am." There was a long pause. Then finally, "Jake, that's kind of badass, sis." When I stepped off the plane in Rome, the weight of the past year settled on me like a soft, worn coat. I had spent so much of my life waiting for my parents to notice me, waiting to be invited, waiting to stop feeling like an afterthought. But I wasn't waiting anymore. I was choosing myself. I had built a life where I didn't have to beg to be seen. And somehow, in choosing me, they had finally learned how to show up. A few days into the trip, I sat in a quiet Roman cafe, sipping espresso, sun warming my shoulders, when my phone buzzed. A group message. "Mom, we just saw your latest photos. Rome looks amazing. Call us soon. We miss you." I smiled, not because I needed their approval, but because, for the first time, they meant it. And that was enough. You shouldn't have to beg for love. You shouldn't have to fight to be included. If the people around you can't see your worth, choose yourself. Because sometimes, when you finally stop waiting to be seen, that's when they truly start to look.